Dr. Robert White of the Humanities Department at Alabama State University gives his insight on what he believes the black man's reaction would be in this active choice of narrative. 10 years ago, white men shook up the world and overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump after having been completely overlooked by the Obama administration. This is important because the Trump team discovered the feelings of isolation and neglect that many white men felt. And rather than dismissing them, his team addressed and legitimized their concerns. However, the false assumption that liberals have is that black men do not feel the same way and are not prepared to respond in similar fashion. However, black men, like other disgruntled and underappreciated identity groups on both sides, will simply conduct a referendum by not showing up, not because they have voter apathy, but because of the apathy showed to them. A few years ago in Alabama, Doug Jones got elected to Congress not because of a shift in demographics, but because Republicans simply cast right-vitees, which took votes away from an unpopular candidate. Since the Obama administration, which did little to bolster black male confidence in the Democratic Party, and after watching white women vote for an admitted and braggadocious misogynist in the post-Obama years, black men have been meeting and discussing their condition without the sanctuary of either political party. To my knowledge, the Democratic Party has done little to address the needs of the black family and cast no vision for a future of black male prosperity or growth. He is to the Democrats as he is to the Republicans, a problem that must be managed and not solved. However, black men's church groups have been meeting to discuss their role in the community, and with the help of social media and black men, are becoming more knowledgeable about the events and circumstances of their existence. One resounding conclusion of many black men to the comments of Obama is that liberals are no more capable or willing to help black men than conservatives, something discovered previously by our great scholars of the past like Carter G. Woodson, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Booker T. Washington, and Martin Luther King. Liberals also are as quick to label black men as problems rather than solutions to the growing political divide. There is little evidence that black men have moved out of the category established by white liberals and conservatives as being a target population. White men were not identified as an identity group, but a political force. Yet other so-called identity groups, especially those that use intersectional politics, see the usefulness in keeping the spook at the door, but his voice remains muffled. There is a little known but growing disgust and contempt for liberal politics on the part of black men because we understand how we are being marginalized and downright ignored in favor of other identity groups. The conclave of black male political identity has been taking place on as well as off the web and is not even on the liberal radar, but if they expect to have any future with black people, black men must be taken seriously or else. Just like the nation did not see the resurgence of white men under the mantra of borders, language, and culture in the post-Obama America, the nation might miss the rise of a new black politics which is focused on reclaiming our manhood and family. One of the most influential black scholars in the area of revised black male identity politics is Dr. Tommy Curry, who was literally run out of town by angry mobs on both sides of the political academic aisle. Conservative colleges hated him because he dared to call himself black, and liberals hated him because he dared to call himself a man. It is the hope of some that this movement will continue with the reunification of the black family with an emphasis on economics and government. Also, no longer will the interest of black women be divided from that of black men. In 1956, DuBois, in his missive, "I Will Not Vote," stated his reasons for not participating in the electoral process, and today those of black men are no different. DuBois basically concluded that both parties were inconsequential in the plight of American society and offered no solution to racism and an anemic economy. DuBois's abstention, like that of many radical black figures of his day, was not a contempt for the process per se, nor for the vote as an act of political expression, but rather was a referendum on the posture of national leadership toward the black condition. While DuBois withheld his vote, he was one of the best political strategists and organizers of all time. The example of DuBois, nonviolent resistance and protest, and that of others puts political organization over the mere act of pulling a lever, which is only a one-day activity, although the fallout can last decades. A simple analysis will reveal the validity of the reluctance of black men to overtly support the presidential Democratic candidate is because our scholars do not distinguish between the Republican agenda and the Democratic when it comes to the condition of black men. this being one of many indistinguishable features of the current two-party system. Another being the deliberate undermining of the economy and society of colored foreign nations like Haiti and Kenya, while attempting to push liberal moral views at the same time. Former President Obama is a master at the gender game, but a look at the action of our heroes will reveal that the true concerns that black men have are neither nonsensical, illegitimate, or unfounded. Also, the concerns of conscious black men are identical to that of black women, but the liberal game has sought to divide the black family by portraying the black man as being the reason for the black woman's suffering. DuBois did not see any viable solution offered to the problem facing black people, and some black men remain skeptical because none of his issues have been addressed, especially when it comes to the political isolation of black women from black men, as if the interests of both are not in tandem. While I understand and have witnessed the difference in having your man or women in office, the reluctance that black men have with both presidential candidates cannot be simply dismissed as being trivial or misguided. Heck, even the Pope called the potential winner a lesser of two evils. Normally, when a special interest group expresses concern, there are concessions made, and offers are extended, and sometimes butts are kissed. When illegal immigrants are at issue, all the consideration in the world are extended to them, yet when it is time for black men to vote, their concerns are dismissed or remain unaddressed. We are simply commanded to stop complaining? Intersectionality politics is the single most damnable political technique of the Democratic agenda, and it will come back to haunt the party. It uses black male suffering to bolster the political visibility of other identity groups, while these groups claim to be equal to black men in oppression. And when the suffering is no longer exploited, black men remain the most subordinated of all the identity groups. Former President Obama's response to black men's questions regarding Vice President Harris is childish, and her silence on engaging black men is deafening. It is as if we would not have reservations about a party that has combined the identities of gender, race, and sexual orientation without acknowledging the primary benefactors of the race game to have been white women. We know that the great-grandmothers of today's liberal white female benefactors of the woke game, who survived last year's SCOTUS Affirmative Action Challenge and remain eligible for preferential treatment, were the very ones calling for the lynching of black men during Reconstruction after black men received the right to vote before white women. Former President Obama is as repulsed and intimidated by a free-thinking, unimpressed, wrestles, and less compromising black male voting bloc as members of other identity groups. Black men are justified in being skeptical of Harris because of our power of reflection, which reminds black men of the words of Mary Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Phoebe Cousins, Rebecca Lattimore Felton, and others who in various ways called for the lynching of politically active black. I am Dr. Robert White, and this is my critical theory of race.